thought, why not have a little conversation on my car journey? So, because we're always journeying through life, right? So I wanted to speak upon, again, things that have been coming into my space and my reality. And the attachment of demons, of spirits, of negative forces that people say infiltrate human beings, and the spirit has took a hold of the humanitarian. So what I'm trying to say is, if I give you an example of the Jezebel spirit that the Bible speaks of, being that which entices men in an unhealthy way, being that which entices the sexuality of women. So I just want to give my view upon this whole occurrence. So for me, demons, spirits, and what they speak of is influence, is what we call influence now, in this day and age. So when an influence manages to take hold of a big group of people, that means it's been able to become an influence with an abundance of energy behind the influence, which people then, I guess, have scriptured and written that is then some sort of entity, when I feel like it's just a natural build-up of influence that's been accepted by each individual being. So I'm going to use the Jezebel example again, because it's something I feel passionately about, that women have so much expectation and pressure on them to look and be a certain way. Now that does not take the fault away from the being that accepts that influence, because the influence is there, it's neutral, it's an offering. It's not a force, it's an offering. And if you accept that offering and you make the choice to then put yourself in places and in circumstances that temptation of that offering of influence is going to be able to get to you, then that's a choice that you have made. Now, for me, everything is energy. And God is all. There is not forces that are sent from a place of darkness. There are forces that arise because humanity allow that force to arise through choice and influence. And if you allow yourself to be influenced by the external factors of your reality, you make the choice to be within that energy and that frequency, which people call demonic, they call the certain labeled spirit. That's, I hope that I'm making sense here and I'm able to get across how this unfolds in my mind. So realizing that when you give energy to something, that becomes something real. Now, in my eyes, it doesn't become an entity that is separate and that is trying to cast some type of darkness upon you. It's a neutral influence that's been put into the construction that if you accept, you become the reasoning for the building of that influence, and the energy comes from humanity. The energy within us is what we project, and if we're influenced, we allow ourselves to be influenced, we are projecting that energy, which means if we have an abundance of people projecting the same energy, we then have influence. I'm going to call it an influence, not a spirit, not a demon, because these labels were used in a day in which we are not in, and we do not know how they saw things. We can only go by experience now. And you can see just in the small experiences that we take in life, the lessons we can see from them on a bigger scale. So it could be a very small experience, but we may be able to take the lesson from that experience onto a much bigger scaled experience. And it's them little things you need to watch for. And it's those little things and those little nuggets of influence that you have to choose to not let build inside of you. And you have to not allow yourself into the environments and into the places and around the people that have this influence inside of them. Sorry, not inside of them, because that would go along with the demon thing. But what they're projecting, the influence they're projecting. If they're projecting that influence, then you need to choose to not put yourself in that situation and experience, and choose to not be influenced, because we have to see our action in every experience and every situation that occurs in our life. There are some things that are out of our control, very much so, when we're children, etc. When we get of a certain age, and even as a young age, we're making choices and we're easily influenced at a young age. This is why they come for us as young people. That's when we're most influenced, right? What do people say? The children are the most influential, because that's what happens. And then when we grow and mature and evolve, we then have to break away all of those influences and see through them. But then it is down to the parents of our own children to make sure that them influences don't project from our children, so it's not projecting to the next generation. And I think that is the key there for the ones that have been able to see and break down this construction, is to make sure that this construction and the influences of this construction is not poured on to our children, and they are not projecting that upon anybody else. So when you see the truth, it's very quite simple. The mechanics of the construction is quite simple. You just have to be aware to be able to see them. And the thing is that they keep humanity so unaware that it's hard to see through the haze of the construction, of the expectation, of the influence, of the pressure. But please know, when that pressure lifts, you're the diamond that's left, right? So, like with all my detox stuff, you clear your physical body, clear your energetical mind, and clear your spiritual soul. And all that's left is that shining diamond that God